Welcome back to Mohawk Motors, everybody. My name is Jason. Let's finish getting this 6.2 liter put back together. I've already been down here for a while today and getting some light assembly done. I got my oil filter back on this engine, all my masking tape taken off. I've got my cam position sensor put back on. I do have a new dampener over there. I got to get that on, as well as a few other things. But the engine's hanging here for now. I'm going to get it back on the stand in a little bit. What I've been working on also this morning is the heads. I tore the heads completely apart, cleaned them, checked everything out, and now I'm putting them back together. So I've already done one. And you can see I've got my all new valve spring base plates, seals, and dual springs with titanium retainers. Daggone furnace. And this is my first time doing dual valve springs. First time really. I went ahead and I spent some money on this one because I want it to be nice, and I'm doing it up on this truck when it goes all back together. So I've got the other head left to do still. Right here, you can see I've got all my valve springs, and yes, dual valve springs from Brian Tooley Racing. Not my typical style, but I wanted good parts on this one, the best I could get. My valves, I'll get those cleaned up. Retainers, obviously. Locks, all that jazz too. So I figure I'll show you really quickly how I do one valve, and then I'll go through and do the other 7 left on this head, and then we'll pick up and well, we'll finish putting the engine together. All right, can you see me? You can see me. So let's do one of these valves. So I've got an exhaust valve here, and these have been sitting on the workbench for a while, so I'm just giving them a wipe off before I go about reassembly. And I am lapping these valves in, just a light lap to make sure that they're seated all the way down on the valve seat, and that they should seal up really well when we get this thing all put back together. There we go. And I already went through, I blew the head off and got it as clean as I could. I ran it through the dishwasher, parts washer, a couple times, and then got it all cleaned off, blew it off with air. So I've just got a little bit of valve grinding compound here, nothing special. A few dabs of this around the valve seat. As you saw, a little WD-40 in the valve guide. Goes right in. Take my handy little drill, and we lap. Very simple, nothing complicated. I'm not trying to put a new face on the valve. I'm just trying to clean up the valve seat and clean up the face of the valve on that sealing surface, so we have a good seal when we put it all back together. Take that off. Slip the valve back out. Get all the lapping compound, grinding compound rubbed off of it here in my rag. There we go. Wipe it all off of the valve seat itself. Get that as clean as I can. And guys, this doesn't have to be perfect. Just a good wipe, get it as clean as you can. There we go. Now we take our new spring seat, sit it over the valve stem, get our new valve seal. Slip that down over the valve guide. Make sure you get it all the way down. A little more WD-40 in there. Take our valve. Slide it in. Take the valve spring. Set it over. Valve spring retainer. Valve spring compressor. Make sure we're as centered up on the valve as we can get. Put a little tension on this thing. Get it all lined up there. There we go. Tighten her down. There we go. Now we need our locks. Whoopsie. This is always the little bit tricky part. Okay, got one in. There's the other. Let me just release the tension on the valve spring compressor. Voila. And that one's all done. Make sure everything's seated where it belongs. Looks good. Then we move on. 7 more to do. So let's go a little time lapse here. It's not exciting, it's just the same process over and over again. Go. Second head, all assembled, ready to go. Surprisingly, came with an extra lock keeper. That doesn't happen very often, but that's it. Now we've got both heads all assembled. Next step, get the engine back on the stand. I want to get the harmonic balancer put back onto the crank. Pretty simple, just warm it with a MAP gas torch or propane torch, slip it on there, and then tighten down the bolt. The bolt goes to super ultra tight. I can't remember the actual torque spec. I just know I put them on there as tight as I can with my 1/2-inch impact, and that seems to hold them. So yeah, I'll do that stuff, I'll bring you back. Nothing crazy complicated or super exciting. But we're going to keep moving along. All right, guys, I'm out of time for now, but here's where I'm leaving it. I got my self reconditioned lifters put in. I got the 1 cylinder head put on, torqued down to spec. I'm using ARP head studs, factory heads, and it's a factory multi-layer steel gasket, straight AC Delco. So I shouldn't have any issues. The heads should be sealed up perfectly. I filled it with oil also. When I fill these things with oil, especially if I have the valley cover off, I like to pour oil down through these bores, and that helps fill the lifter galleys, and it should allow enough oil to run down and prime the pump. So hopefully, once I get this thing all assembled, I can bolt the starter on, and we'll just crank it over and make sure that we're pumping oil through this engine, and then it'll get stored. But that's not till the end. We still got some work to do. So I'm gonna go do some stuff with my wife and kids, and I'll probably come back down this evening and do a little bit more. So I'll see you guys then. Well, as you saw, guys, zipping along on this thing. We've got most of the accessory brackets back on the front of it. I still got to get the pulley back on the new power steering pump. And then the thermostat and water outlet we got to get on there. And then the serpentine belt. But I've got all the push rods back in, all the rocker arms back in. If you're ever doing one of these, make sure your rocker arms, you have a intake rocker arm and an exhaust rocker arm. This is only on the Gen 4 engines and not on all of them. But the rectangle port Gen 4s, the intake rocker arm is offset. So I'm gonna keep going on this thing. And it actually looks like I got a little oil pumped out, which is good. I wanna rotate it over a few more times. Make sure I'm getting oil up in all the places I should. You can see my little oil primer funnel is slowly going down. So, going smoothly. I should be able to wrap this thing up today. I want to get that pulley on, like I said. I'll get the valve covers on, like I said. And probably get the intake on also. So, I'll see you guys again in a little bit. Well, guys, I think I'm going to call it for today. It's getting into the afternoon. I'd rather go spend some time with my wife and kids. But here's where we're at. I've got pretty much everything I have for it is put on. I've still got my funnel feeding oil down into the oil galleys to get this thing all primed up with oil. I want to get it as well lubricated as possible before I store it, just to make sure that nothing weird happens while it's sitting on the stand waiting for me to be able to put it in the truck. And now that it's together, I really want to start it and hear it run. But I don't have a computer or a harness to run this thing yet. So it'll have to sit. But as you can see, I got all the accessories back on the front. New power steering pump, new alternator, new water pump, new tensioner, idler, dampener, etc., etc. Got the ignition coils all back on, coil brackets, plugs, wires, new starter, oil dipstick. So this thing is, it's about it for now. I'm gonna leave it overnight, letting my oil gravity feed down in and fill all the oil galleys. And then we'll get the intake manifold put back on it. And the oil pressure sensor probably tomorrow evening sometime. And then, like I said, that'll be the end of this video. And that'll be it on this project for now. I don't have any exhaust for it yet. I don't have the computer or the harness, like I said, to be able to start it up yet. So it'll just have to be like this for a while till we figure out what's going on with the federal government. And I'm ready to start spending a little bit of money to get this thing going. So I guess that's it for now. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, there it is, folks. As you saw, got the intake manifold on it, the engine cover, got my plugs, wires, coils on. I don't have any exhaust manifolds. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put headers on it when I have it in the truck, and I don't have those yet, but I do have my good factory exhaust manifold gaskets, some new exhaust manifold bolts. This thing is as far as I'm going to be able to get it for now. Used up every part that I had for it, and there she is. Complete. Should run great. I am really excited to hear this thing run. I really wish that I had the computer. If you haven't already guessed, I'm planning on running this with a Holley Terminator. And I'm gonna be pairing this to a 4L80 transmission, which we'll have to build later on as well. And I'm sure I'll make a video of that also for you guys. But yeah, we're gonna run it with Terminator X-Max. So it'll run the engine, it'll run the transmission, be fully tunable, and I think it's going to run really good. It's going to make the truck a blast to drive. It was fun to drive before with the turbo 6-liter in it, and the turbo 400, but I think having the 4L80, it's going to give me an overdrive gear, which will make it a little bit more enjoyable to drive over like 60 miles an hour, especially with the 456 gears in the axles. And this thing should have plenty of power. So I'm excited. Maybe I'll be able to sell a truck or two here in the near future, get that silver truck sold, and that'll put me in position that I'll feel more comfortable buying the computer. But again, that's gonna be a little while. So that's where we're leaving it for now. I'm gonna get this engine bagged up, get it put into storage, keep it safe, keep it dry, and it'll be ready to go when I'm ready to commit the funding to the rest of that project. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, team. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And till the next video, take care.